As per usual, Shrimpy Daddy. In case this is the first time you are watching the stream, the VOD, or the video on YouTube, I'm a monthly Wild Legend player who typically hits Legend first of the month, and after that I goof off. And when I goof off, I tend to play your decks. And today I expect to be no different because we have a brand new meta. Mind Rogue has been deleted. Quest Mage has been deleted for all its crimes against humanity, and now we are left with mostly board-based aggro and stuff that beats up board-based aggro. Along those lines, what I'd like to do at this time is actually highlight a couple decks that I think are going to be good in the coming meta. The first one being Pirate Rogue. It doesn't change much at all, but does get a huge upgrade. We're looking at, especially to highlight the buff to Treasure Distributor. After you summon a pirate, give it and this minion +1 attack. So the lowest hanging fruit, I think, of the lists that I play are just this. My basic day one Pirate Rogue list, the one thing that we change out is we happen to run ZILLIAXS in this. So, cost 1 less for each minion in play. +2/+2 to all of our other minions. This used to be a Cavern Shiny Finder. No more, no more. I think if you do want to switch things around, I think Hip Hop Harmonic could absolutely be a Cold Blood. You'll probably see that in more common in lists. But yeah, I think I would bring this if I was ever to competitively play Pirate Rogue. Second list that I would look at that I think is pretty good in the meta right now is Garrote Rogue. Literally the same list I was playing because I preferred Treasure Distributors over Fillet Fighters. I think that trend obviously continues because this card is flat busted. And not only that, but I've already gotten these up to 9/2s, 8/2s, 10/2s to get the swing face because we are running Shadow Steps and we can bounce pirates and we are printing more pirates and we're also drawing our entire deck. So we don't have to hold out to do a full Garrote combo with Street Trickster. I think it makes the deck a lot easier to play. So this looks good to me. Again, if you're looking for something a little bit more complicated than Pirate Rogue, but still taking advantage of some of the buffs, I want to highlight this deck because I think Unholy DK right now is good into the pirate decks, good into Garrote because we do still play Plague stuffs, and Plagues do sometimes trip up Garrotes. Makes their passages worse. Frost Plagues are just awful, and I really like, this is 90% of a list by a guy named Phil Nye, using sing-along buddies and knife jugglers and token generators to basically make the most out of these funny spells and get some extra damage in while also producing extra corpses for Grave Strength to finish off. I think the one place where there's some flex, I cut Okani and a Tomb Guardians to put into Gnome Munchers because I just love Gnome Muncher and I think it's good offense, it's good defense, it goes face. It technically has Wind Fury if nothing else is on the board and it survives a turn. So I think it's too busted to not include in any lists. But where I was always cutting an Okani because we don't need it. You could probably cut the ETC, which has Hearthstone Brew, Loatheb, and Alkalite of Death. It's a little bit of a greedy play. I kept it in just for fun, but if you were looking for a place to cut, this is probably the best cut. Otherwise, you're picking between Tomb Guardians and Tomb Traders, both of which are decent anti-aggro. Tomb Guardians, obviously, with more synergy with Knife Juggler, and it's completely corpse neutral, which I really like. Uses four corpses, gives 4 corpses straight back, as long as it isn't silenced. Tomb Trader with the 3 AoE. 3 AoE is still an important breakpoint in our format of Wild. Even Paladin's still good. I would use Corbett's list. I wouldn't use the Dirty Rat Trapdoor Spider list. I like that we weren't running 2 horns for a little extra reach. The flash sales feel good. This is tried and true. I prefer not even Paladin myself, and that might be a deck that I experiment with on day one, but this is a list. I know it works, so I'm going to say, hey, this is still good because I do believe it is still good. The horns are also good if you happen to need to beat some giants. Something that really got some big stonks are the Miracle Priest, a.k.a. Horror Priest. This deck was a darling toward the end of last expansion because A, it was so cheap, and B, it was fun and rather violent. Essentially, let's get the mulligans really simple. Find Radiant Elemental or find Creation Protocol so that you can find Radiant Elemental 90% of the time. And then if you have Radiant Elemental or Creation Protocol, you spam Anduin's Gift for more copies of Power Word Shield, or you spam Power Word Shield and make cheap Grave Horrors, get Handmaiding Drawing cards, eventually do a Bless combo and win. The one flex spot in this list were the Shadow Word Devours. Again, those are epics. If you don't have those or you don't want to spend the dust on those, I think they're good in a pirate meta. But if you don't want to use those, I was using 2 copies of Palm Reading. Those were fine. Last but not least, I think this is the deck I'm going to take to Legend this month because it's so gosh darn fun. This is a version of Miracle Rogue, which I've already posted on the YouTube channel before. So if you want to go check out that video to see gameplay of it, you're going in very early. You're going in very hard. You're trying to get down Frostwolf War Masters and Scribbling Scribes, or Scribbling Stenographers. Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 in some cases, but mostly 1, 2, sometimes 3. Arcane Giants are usually online as early as turn 3, sometimes turn 4. We're running Breakdance instead of Everything Must Go because I think Everything Must Go sucks, but we'll print more and more copies of Arcane Giants to add more gigantic threats. And last but not least, after we've drawn most of our deck with 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 cards left in deck turn 5, Zephyrs the Great is online, pretty much like clockwork, for either Wind Fury or a Silence or just a little extra damage to make for a lethal. So I think this deck is nuts. I don't know if it's necessarily in love with a lot of hyper-aggression, if that's what the meta ends up becoming. So this might not be my day 1 Legend deck, but at the same time, it vomits stats so quickly that it does well into that field. So if you're looking for 6 decks that will do well, I think, in the early meta, either for an early push for Legend next month or for a late push in this one, these are the 6 I would put my money on as being some of the most effective or easiest to play. Definitely easiest to play. Harder to play, but definitely more busted. Good counter to these 2 if you're seeing a lot of them. Good counter to these if you're seeing a lot of them. Suddenly doesn't have any predators and might be just absolutely nuts. Should do fine in a Pirate Rogue. Can beat basically anything. All right. So hopefully that is helpful for some. And now for the stream proper. Hello, everybody. Hello.